Parker, you want to sing a song?
Yes.
Somebody give him a quarter.
Yeah. Oh God.
Put a quarter in him.
Life of a dude that goes to an arcade. I have lots of quarters everywhere now.
We were at Mobcraft yesterday, like Matt was saying, and both Matt and I hear somebody somewhere on the right hand side of us hear a quarter hit a table and then hit a glass. We're like, what?
What quarters? What?
Baki Yoko. Oh yeah. Samina mina. Edward Mende. Samina mina Sam Sadate. He comes from Senegal.
And I think going out and get Saul was the top transfer of the market for Chelsea.
Chesney could have been in the shower smoking a cigarette like he was at Arsenal, and we still would not have scored.
My rants have been fueled by Scotch. Don't get it twisted.
Big Rom. Man, fuck you.
In Roman we trust, right?
You and me are going to have a battle royale about Jorginho and diving.
The flag stays down.
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. You've got me here, Andy. You can follow me at Comiskey North. And with me tonight is a guy who has made a triple save several times on this pod, Parker at DJ Parkour. And we've also got a man who divides the fan base like no one else, Matt at Matus Lee. Parker, how you doing?
Oh, that was a great intro. You keep outdoing yourself, Collins. I love it, man. No, I'm good. I'm a wee bit tired. Started off this morning with a 4 a.m. wake-up call in Denver, but was able to watch the Chelsea match on the plane. So shout out to Delta's Wi-Fi because it got me through today and got me through the match. So no, man, it was a cool little vacation I took with my wife. So life is good, and I got to check out the Mobcraft Denver location. So shout out to Mobcraft for that. Matt, how you doing on this lovely Sunday?
It's been a busy week. Had a lot of stuff going on with the basement. As our listeners know, I've been working on remodeling that, and had a lot of stuff happening, plumbing, insulation, all that fun stuff. So yeah, it was good. I was fortunate enough to meet up with the Collins family yesterday, and we stopped over at Mobcraft. So we had some beers, had some food, damn good time. So super excited. Parks, I'm the same way. I'm a little bit tired. Got to bed kind of late last night. But yeah, I was up early to watch the game, and so we're here. Collins, how are you?
All kinds of foreshadowing going on here. I love it. No, I'm good. Spent the morning with the Milwaukee Blues. If you listen to last week's episode, as Scott mentioned, you can catch them every weekend at Highbury here in Milwaukee. So got to catch up with the fellas there, watch the game, had a blast. Unfortunately, had to watch shit show of a Packer game in Matt's garage, but there's worse places to watch that game. But like I said, foreshadowing, we are pleased to announce, I'll just announce it formally here, that we have partnered with Mobcraft Brewing in Milwaukee and Denver. Mobcraft is the world's first crowdsourced brewery, which is awesome. Me personally, I've submitted several beers to be voted on. Fortunately, I haven't gotten anything past the voting stage, but they're great because it's a million different ideas and everybody just votes on the best, and they usually end up making the best beer. So boys, in honor of Mobcraft here, I'm proposing an amendment to how we start our pods. Normally we do an in memoriam of whatever episode number we're on. How about we cheers a Mobcraft beer every week to whoever we pick?
Let's rock.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, this week is episode 10. So 10 is a great number at Chelsea. here are just a couple that I pulled. You guys may have some other ones. We got Joe Cole, Juan Mata, Christian Pulisic, and Eden Hazard.
I mean, don't forget that Willian had the number 10 for, I think it was that season where he just absolutely went off. So I don't want to leave him out of it. Pedro also wore the number 10. So a lot of good candidates. For me, I have to go with Eden Hazard. We all know what he meant to the club. Obviously, first season he was wearing 17, and then switched over to 10, and that's when he really kind of started taking over. So my vote, Eden Hazard.
Just to be different, and I know that Aiden's probably going to win the vote anyway. I'll just bring up Juan Mata because he was one of my favorite players when he was on, and the Juan Mata assist that stands out is the Andre Schürrle pass. That's going to go down as one of the best Chelsea goals of all time, best team goals. And he's one of those players that I don't feel like his presence was felt until he was not with us anymore. And we just very much missed what he brought to the team. So he was an energetic, wonderful midfielder, had eyes in the back of his head. So I'll just give a quick shout out to Juan Mata.
Yeah, I think we can all agree Eden Hazard is probably the winner of this. It's who my son is named after. Like, I can't go against that. But just like with you, Parker, I got to give a quick shout out, and that's to Joe Cole. Joe Cole is one of the OGs in my book. One of the first players that I truly fell in love with as a player. You guys may not have been at Oshkosh at this point, but I went as Joe Cole for Halloween in college one year. It's the infamous breaking it down picture, which I may post on our social media at some point here. So I'll throw that out as a teaser. But let's raise our glasses tonight. We're drinking Mobcraft Mobtoberfest. Raise our glasses, and we'll drink to Eden Hazard.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That Mobtoberfest. First of all, that is the first Oktoberfest beer I've ever had, and maybe a new favorite of mine. But it is a classic Oktoberfest style lager. It's got a great amber color to it. The information we were sent here says it's got plenty of malt character, and it's very malty. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is somebody who likes to drink all different types of beer. I'm a big fan of it. Oktoberfest is usually one of my favorite beers, and I've had plenty of them. But yeah, this is definitely up there as one of my favorites for an Oktoberfest. So if you have the chance, definitely go out and grab some.
All right. Well, on tonight's pod, we had two matches in the week, and boy, we're going to be saying that for the next couple of weeks. AC Milan, 2-0 win at San Siro.
James, great run, played in behind. Fabulous. Promising for Chelsea, and Tatarusanu just cutting it out.
Well, this is fabulous football again. Reece James.
Straight red card and a penalty.
There you go.
Fikayo Tomori. And it's put away beautifully by the Brazilian-born Italian international. On his return to San Siro, Jorginho silences the Milan crowd. It's Chelsea 1, Milan 0.
Well played.
Theo Kovacic.
Great ball.
Disguise freeing up Sterling. And into the back of the net. Aubameyang, who started the possession, finishes it for Chelsea.
The finish is good, but the build-up is way, way, way better.
And then we come back and beat Aston Villa 2-0 away today, Sunday.
Chilwell, no challenges coming in on him. Oh, Mings with a ball header, and Mason Mount capitalises. Chelsea ahead inside 6 minutes, and Villa's problems escalate. Ramsey for Villa, doing their best to build up ahead of steam, try and get themselves back on level terms. Bailey getting it back onto his left foot. That's a brilliant save. The best of the lot from Arrizabalaga. Danny Ings cannot believe that he hasn't equalised. Mason Mount hitting it. Oh, and hitting it magnificently. The pressure mounts. 2 for Mason, 2 for Chelsea. And Villa staring down the barrel of defeat.
So we're going to break it down here, discussing the officiating in that AC Milan match. That seemed to be a hot topic issue. We lost Reece James, so we'll be talking about a Reece James-less Chelsea. And this is my favorite phrase. I feel like I bring this topic up every week with a different player, but Mason Mount, he's back. And finally, Kepa put on that clinic today. I mentioned the triple save with Parker earlier. Kepa had a great one, and we'll get into that. But let's start with that officiating, boys, because I know we had a little debate on it earlier in the week. So, Chelsea was kind of on the front foot in that game to start against AC Milan. AC Milan certainly had their chances, but that Tomori red card in the 20th minute, I've read that it, in more or less terms, that it derailed the rest of the match. As a Chelsea fan, that's okay with me because it was in our favor. But some are seeing it as a controversial red. Matt, I know you were one of the staunch defenders of it not being a red. I'll let you start off on this one. What did you think of the start of that match?
Yeah, I thought that it's one of those things, and we've talked about this plenty of times, right? Letter of the law versus subjective, being subjective, and what that entails. To me, it didn't seem like a red. I wouldn't call it a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. It was on Mount, I believe. Yeah, he's been in good form, but we've also seen Mount not produce much early in the season, so I wouldn't call it clear and obvious. At the same time, to me, it justified a yellow. I think red was harsh. I understand the reasoning behind it. I still don't like it, especially that early in the game. It wasn't, to me, like a very clear challenge or anything, like studs go up right at the knees or anything like that, where you definitely have to pull a red. To me, it seemed very harsh, especially early on in the game. And Parker, you do this better than any of us. You look at it, okay, if I was an AC Milan fan or if I was the opposition, I would have been pissed if it was a red. I didn't feel like it warranted it. Eventually, it is what it is. But to me, I didn't see anything harsh. I didn't see anything drastic enough for it to be a red in that situation. I would have been perfectly fine and comfortable with a yellow.
Yeah, it was a really tricky one, and the contact that was made tells me it's a yellow, Matt, and that's anywhere else on the pitch, it was just a little bit of grabbing, just a little bit of shoulder pullback. The one clear difference for me, you mentioned Mason Mount not being in the best of form. I don't think form goes into the clear goal scoring argument, thankfully for us in this situation. I don't think the ref was like, yeah, did Mace have that or not, right? But the fact that he completely wrong-sided him got completely in front of him, and if it was shoulder to shoulder, if they were kind of neck and neck, there's no way that it probably doesn't even get called, to be honest. But the fact that Mace took a full step and got completely across him, that's where it's now the hand on the shoulder is from completely behind, and he's pulling him back a little bit. And yeah, the announcers gave Mount credit. I'll give Mount credit. He worked through it. He wasn't trying to go down. He didn't go down easy, and I don't think he was trying to sell it. I think he was legit trying to score, which helps his argument a little bit too. It's had he dove, it would have been looked pretty poorly upon. He could have gotten a yellow for simulation or something. So the fact that he fought through it, the fact that he completely stepped in front of him, and made that separation. Yeah, man, I think that's the right call. Unfortunately, it's the right call. Fortunately for us, but unfortunately kind of for the game, it's the right call. You pull someone from behind with him and just the keeper to beat in the box. It's kind of check, check, check. sort of adds up to a red card for me.
Yeah, I think that this is terrible phrasing here, but I think that we're spoiled with the Premier League refs, in that Premier League refs are very well, this is how the game is going, and I don't want to influence this or that, or whatever. This was an all German refereeing staff, and we know the Germans are very by the book. I don't know. Anytime we have continental refs and it's an all continental ref group, I feel like it's going to be, or at least I go into the match feeling like it's going to be a very strictly called game. And the IFAB, the ones who write the rules for FIFA, for UEFA, says that, let's see, I'm bringing it up here. Referee will award a penalty kick. The player will be cautioned if the offense was in an attempt to play the ball, which Tomori did not try to do, did not try to play the ball, was tugging at the shirt. In all other circumstances, such as handball, holding, pulling, or pushing, no possibility to play the ball, the referee would send off the player with a red card. By the book, I think the German ref did well. From an entertainment standpoint, I mean, it was a pretty boring game to watch the rest of the match. But at the end of the day, it's about the competition. It's about that win for Chelsea. So, if I'm an AC Milan fan, yeah, I'm pissed, but I have no problem with it. It seems like we're getting some calls this year, and I appreciate it.
The other thing I'll add too is the ref was stingy the entire match. And I'm looking at this right now, and there was one red card, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yellows given out. I mean, if that was kind of the only decision he made, and he was letting everything else go, that looks bad. But he kind of was strict throughout the entire match, and so at least he was kind of consistent. I can appreciate that if that's the style that you're going for.
My one complaint with the way he was officiating is that he let Tonali go with basically anything he wanted to do. Tonali didn't get booked until I think the 84th minute.
89th
minute. He easily could have been off on a second yellow, probably 10 minutes into the second half. So that's my one complaint. Otherwise, we talk about consistently on this pod. If refs are consistent, then that's all we can ask for. And I think this refereeing crew is pretty consistent.
The one thing that I did not like was how quick he was to pull yellows for dissent right after the penalty was given right before the kick. Like, okay, I understand you're trying to control the game, and you're trying to let people know, like, okay, here's how things are going to be. He pulled out that yellow like he was trying to meet a quota, and he was like 10 yellow cards behind for the month. So he was just pulling out whatever he could. That part I didn't like. I think when you give people yellows that early for quote unquote dissent, it just impacts the game in a bigger way than I think they fully understand, because now you're taking away their opportunity to, maybe go in for a challenge that would otherwise be called just a normal challenge. You're taking away that ability. So for me, I did not like that at all, because that severely impacts the game and how certain individuals play the game.
Yeah, and the other negative, I guess, from that match is the loss of Reece James. It seems like every year we play an Italian team in the Champions League, every year we lose a crucial player to this team. Reece James happens to fit that mold this year. It didn't look terrible, honestly, when I watched it live. And then it seems like as the week has gone on here, the news has gotten progressively worse. The last I've seen is that he's going to miss our next 5 league matches, which would, playing it safe, which Chelsea probably should. I don't see him coming back till after the World Cup, I would imagine. But boys, it's injury season. So how bad is this? How worried are we?
I guess that to me, it depends on if Gareth Southgate calls him up or not, because if he is featured in the World Cup and he gets brought back a little bit too early, he has much more of a ability to further that injury, which I would very much hate to see. But Reece is the starting right back right now for England, so that's going to be really tricky. And I that's where the club versus country mentality and argument all comes in, right? And Gareth is going to fight tooth and nail to get him out there, and I don't want to see him. I want that to be rest time, and then we get him kind of fresh, back from the World Cup break, which would be great. But yeah, Collins, to your point, I think 8 weeks is what I saw. He doesn't have to have surgery on it, which is a positive. That was the one bit of good news that we did get this week. But instantly his impact is felt, because we don't look like the same team without Reece James, man. We said that last year, and we'll say it again this year, because he does a lot for us, and I guess he hides a lot of our team weakness, because he does do so much for us, and Reece's presence will be missed. We'll have to kind of figure out what the best alternative was, and I'm not sure we found it in this Villa match, because we had sort of that rotating right wing back throughout the match, and it was a little bit of Sterling, a little bit of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and then we kind of made some subs and changed formation a little bit, and Dave kind of played in the back four towards the second half. So I don't mind kind of being more fluid with how we approach it, but it's going to be kind of that committee approach to solve for Reece James. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about who steps in and in what formation.
Yeah, I think we've seen that he might even miss the World Cup, right? That's been talked about, that he might not even be ready for the World Cup. It sucks for a player of his caliber and the form that he is in right now. And unfortunately, we saw it last year with Chilwell, right? Chills was playing out of his mind and then goes out with the ACL. It's just one of those things where it happens. And Collins, like you said, it didn't look bad. It just looked like a little bit of a tweak, but you throw that in, and now we've got James, Fofana, we've got Conte out. Like it's adding up, and unfortunately for us, it adds up very quickly, despite the depth that we have and that we've talked about. It always adds up at the worst possible time, right before this World Cup, which is not during a normal period or anything like that. And then when you're really getting into like the heart of your season, right? This is where you're starting to run 2 matches a week, whether it's league, FA, Champions League, Carabao, like you're starting to run into a lot of games, a lot of matches. We saw that Dave can handle it. We saw that last year when Reece was out for, I think it was like a month and a half. So we have somebody capable, but it's still not Reece James. I don't know what we do as far as, formation. I do like the fact that we're able to switch formations rather quickly. Whether we're 3-4-3 or, 4 at the back, like we can adjust. And I do like that flexibility that we have. However, it's hard to replace Reece James. And we've mentioned this so many times. Give the ball to Reece James down the right and let him cross the ball in. That's been our offense for a while. He's able to take free kicks. He delivers great service into the box, and he does all the dirty work on defense. It's just a tough loss, and we try to cope with it as best we can.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the offense, Matt, because if Tuchel was still manager, and this is not a dig on Tuchel, this is how the team was playing under him, I would be a lot more worried with Reece James being out, because the offense under Tuchel over the last couple months of his tenure was kick the ball out to the right, hope Reece James does something wonderful, and maybe we'll score. We've talked about on this pod how much more creative we've been, over the last several matches, and how many. Obviously, we've scored shit ton more goals. So I'm not so much worried about the attack right now. I am worried about the defense, because Dave is fine, but Dave doesn't track like he used to. And pairing him back there with an old Thiago Silva, and Thiago Silva is still good, but to put two guys in their mid to late 30s back there next to each other is going to cause issues. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I think, is a viable option back there at right back. But for how long? The October doesn't look too bad. We have Manchester United coming up, and that's really our only tough match this month. But then you get to November and you have Newcastle, you have Manchester City, you have Arsenal. Things are going to get crazy. Man, I hope that Potter can figure some kind of lineup out before then, but I would prefer us to go back to a 4 at the back. Let Dave sit back in that right back position. And, when you need to, you can put Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there, switch to a back 3 and let him bomb forward if you need it. But better to play it safe, I think, right now in defense.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think, Collins. I think you shore up the defense and make sure that because you can't replace James with a 1-to-1 person who can both go up, provide service, provide crosses, and then track back and defend at an elite level. So you just take care of one of those problems, take care of the defense, make sure that gets shored up, and then, hope that we can still kind of make something happen in the midfield, which we've been doing much more of and much better at with the 4 at the back. That extra player in the middle has really kind of opened us up, and then the flanks then get wide open. And I like how we're playing when we have 4 at the back a lot more than when we have 3.
Well, let me pose this question to you guys. I saw it earlier in the week on Twitter, and it got me thinking because it kind of changed my thought process. Is Reece James injury prone? It's second significant injury in 2 years.
It's hard to say no. I mean, at this stage, all you can go off of is what you've seen, and he's now done this twice in a row. Could he kind of serve the rest of his career without one? Yeah, but he's also proving to be a bit unreliable in the sense of he's missing big chunks of the season with some pretty major injuries. And that just might be the style that he plays. He plays fast, and he's not afraid of contact, which sort of I applaud him for. But at the same time, as he ages, he'll learn to try to avoid that more, I'm guessing. So hopefully he kind of learns to adjust his game a bit. He kind of reminds me a little bit of completely different players, obviously, but Christian Pulisic always brought on contact, and he was always followed a lot. So he invites it, he takes a lot of knocks, and then stuff happens, right? It's a pretty physical game. So that's kind of the same camp of player. I put Reece James in like that. So yeah, you always invite it a little bit more when you do that.
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't put the tag on him that he's injury prone. He's extremely reliable. If you look at the last 2 seasons, especially under Tuchel, the amount of matches that we played and the amount that he was playing, when you're playing 60 some odd matches in a season and you're playing 2/3 of them, it's going to take a toll on anybody's body. I completely understand that. I think his injuries are, and I don't want to phrase this the wrong way, but I can't think of any other way to say it. His injuries seem like legitimate injuries, not just something like nagging, right? If we look at, N'Golo Kante, I think he's a prime example, right? He's had this hamstring thing going on for 3 years. It's something at least different with Reece, right? He had the ankle, which, Collins, better than anybody. It takes a long time to rehab ankles and stuff like that. This one, I think, is more of a knee. So, and those also take time to heal, as I well know as well. So it's not like it's the same injury. It's different parts. So for me, I'm not ready to label him as injury prone. It's, I think, just very unfortunate for him right now.
I think you're seeing something similar in Reece James that we were seeing in Mason Mount in terms of form. These young England guys, especially coming out of Chelsea, who are in the English national team, are playing damn near 75, 80 matches a year when you include internationals. There's no rest for these guys, and there hasn't been due to COVID, going back to lockdowns. These guys have been going nonstop, no summers off. We don't have the winters off like they do in the Bundesliga. And so eventually at some point, the chance of injury is going to increase tremendously. And it sucks that we're not going to see Reece James in the World Cup from what reports say. But he needs time off. He needs time to let that body recover. You can't just go all the time. So maybe a blessing in disguise, and then we'll see him here in America in 4 years.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
All right. Well, boys, we're going to take just a quick break here. As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we are thrilled to be partnering with Mobcraft beer based out of Milwaukee. As I said, they are the world's first crowdsourced brewery. And throughout the year, they allow other people to submit ideas for beers. We submitted one as a podcast. I've submitted one last Christmas for an eggnog beer that never got made, but you get enough votes and your beer gets made. And boys, do you know what happens if your beer gets made? You get to go to the brewery and you get to brew it. And then you drink it for free. That's amazing. So if you're interested in that, head to mobcraft.com, hit the button to submit your beer idea. You can always vote on whatever the current ones are. But one exciting thing going on right now is their Mobcraft Advent Calendar. It's the perfect gift for any beer lover in your life. It's a daily Advent calendar. It's got 12-ounce cans. I've gotten it the last 2 years, and it's fantastic. This year, it's got 5 limited releases, 4 barrel-aged beers, 5 of their flagships, 4 seasonals, and 6 collaboration beers where they're collaborating with other breweries. I've also seen a sneak peek of it back in their warehouse when I got a tour the other day, and there are some sneaky good beers coming through the pipeline. So I highly recommend it. It's going to be available for $65. It can be purchased at their breweries in Milwaukee or Denver, or you can go to mobcraft.com and buy it there. Boys, are you going to be purchasing one this year?
Yes. That's the cleanest answer I can give. Yes, 100%. I will be purchasing one.
Yeah, and you're going to hand deliver it to me, Collins, when you guys visit in a couple of weeks. No, I'm excited to get my hands on one. A little bit new to the Mobcraft train just because I'm up in Minnesota, and so unfortunately they don't distribute up here. But I did find a liquor store that's just across the river, and it's about 40 minutes from my house. So I'm going to be making real good friends with them. I'm going to give them a call, say put a couple cases away from me, and drive up every so often so I can drink the same beer that you guys are drinking.
And I think one thing that we may have to do as a pod, and it says it on the box, if anybody goes out and buys this, they'll be able to see it. They have a contest every year, #cheers to 24 beers. You take a picture, an artistic picture of whatever the beer is for that day, post it on Twitter. And if they like your pictures enough, you get free beer for a year. So flag stays down. We're going to do cheers to 24 beers. How about that?
Cheers to
On
that.
board.
Yeah, I think if you complete the whole gamut, right? If you do 1 to 24, you get entered into a drawing hat for the free beer for a year, if I remember that right.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool.
All right. Well, back to football here. I did mention Mason Mount briefly, talking about how these boys have no rest. But boys, Mason Mount is back. I know Matt's still on the fence, Parker. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but this man has 5 goals/assists in his last 3 games. I'm all on board the Mason Mount train. 2-time player of the year. I think he's got the quality. I am on board with him being back.
I'll kick it off. I'm critical of Mace when he is not showing up. When he disappears from matches, I'll be the first one to rip on him. But it's because we see a lot of potential in him. And so I'll be the first one to cheers and say, you know, hats off to you, man, for putting in a shift kind of consistently in finding that form. We all knew he had this in him. This isn't surprising to any of us. I mean, Collins, you said it best, 2-time player of the year for us, still a youthful lad. Like he's still young, still has a lot to figure out. And but really, like there were a couple of times today in the Villa match that really impressed me. On that right side, someone would step up on defense. So you know, Villa's going down, and Mace tracked back damn near all the way back and covered people's ass when they had to go defend in other places. He found himself in the right place at the right time, made a lot of really crucial blocks in good positions. He did it all today. He took his chance extremely well. I don't think anyone realized how difficult of a chance that was off of a spinning header that kind of came off weird. First time in the air, took it beautifully, just slotted it home, guided it past, didn't try to do too much with it. But this isn't just about today. Mace has looked good now a couple of days, couple matches in a row. So you know, I'm critical when he's bad. I'm happy when he's good. He is back, and I hope this form continues. I think we all hope it continues. But yeah, to me, he's back. He's showing what he can do in a big way. Full complete performance.
I'll play the negative one here. I like what I'm seeing out of him in the recent matches. I really do. I think he's looked good. He's looked sharp. Parker, to your point, yes. How many times did we see Mace tracking all the way back? And I was even watching the match. I'm like, wait, he's that deep, like in defense, not on a set piece, not on a corner, but he's like tracking back that much. I liked what I saw. The first goal, beautifully taken. Second goal, it looked better in real time than it did on replay. I thought he went top ends with it, but the keeper was just wrong footed. He went the wrong way, and you know, he did have some good movement on the ball. It had some good dip, but you know, if the keeper doesn't move, it's pretty much right in his arms. So I don't think he's the only thing stopping me from saying that he's back is I need to see this on a consistent level. We've talked about how he can be hot for a month and then he disappears for 2 months and then he comes back, and you know, he just has these ebbs and flows as the season goes on, and it's been the same way for, you know, 3 seasons. I would like to see it. I'm not asking for, you know, a 9 out of 10 performance every single time, but consistency. Like, I don't want to see him get lost and we're like, oh, he was actually on the pitch today. I didn't even know. I think that's the biggest thing. So when he did come in the first year under Frank, we saw him everywhere, right? He was doing everything. He was producing. He really didn't have bad matches. And now I think, you know, he's getting back to that level, but I need to see it not just for a month at a time. I need to see it throughout the course of a season. So I do think that he's getting there. And I am excited to see if he can carry this on. Obviously, with this year in the World Cup and the timing of it, it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes back after the fact. But if he can carry all this momentum into the World Cup, and you know, finish out what we have before the World Cup, I'm excited about it.
He just can't ball out against the U.S. That's the only thing I ask. That's Black Friday. He can't ball out against us.
So here's what I'm thinking with Mason Mount, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here if you listen to us on a regular basis here, but he's being played in his right position. He's being played as a number 10. Potter seems to play multiple number 10s, which is great. Mason Mount seems to be one of them. He's not playing on the wing. He's not being asked to be a number 8. He's not that false nine. He's playing on at the top of the box, kind of free floating, finding space, making runs. And I think that's pretty crucial to getting the best out of Mason Mount. And this may be new manager bounce. I will admit that. But here's Mason Mount playing in position versus playing out of position. In the first 7 matches of the year, according to WhoScored.com, Mason Mount scored above a 7 once. Those were all Tuchel matches. Since Potter has taken over, he has been under 7 once. And for a couple weeks now, heading into that AC Milan match, the first one, it was, Mace is there. He's making the right moves. He's looking smart out there. One of these goals has got to drop for him at some point, or one of these passes has got to be converted into a goal. That's now clicked. We're past that hump. And, we're going on about a month now, Matt. So if he continues this another couple weeks, we're looking at a streak, baby.
And I'm all for that. Just as long as it's not, we compare him and Christian a lot. Very up and down. They can look amazing for 3-4 matches in a row and then completely disappear. I don't want to see that. I think that's kind of been his MO, at least under Tuchel. Show up a little bit and then he's almost non-existent. We're wondering if we're playing with 10 before the first kick even happens. I am excited and I'm very hopeful that he's going to continue this. I just want to see him prove it out. I want to see him prove me wrong.
All right. Well, let's turn to the other star of the day from this Aston Villa match. And that's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Manager, Kepa Arrizabalaga. I lost track of how many saves he had in this one. He literally put on a clinic to keep this clean sheet, his 50th for Chelsea. We talked about it a little bit with Scott last week, and he's obviously a little biased, being a big Kepa fan. But does this solidify? Last week we talked about, does Kepa hold on to this shirt? Does this solidify Kepa keeping that shirt?
It definitely doesn't hurt. It's hard to argue that he shouldn't be the starting keeper after a performance like that. That triple save was absolutely ridiculous. You should not be able to do that. And the other subsequent saves that he made, point blank headers that he was able to save and things like that. We all have talked about Mendy, and we think that, at least we have thought that he was a better shot blocker than Kepa was. But I don't know. Something's happened with Kepa, and he is just playing out of his mind right now. And I absolutely love it. It's unfortunate that we got to see the best of Kepa, 3 years after this massive deal where he's the world's most expensive keeper, blah, blah, blah. And then we saw the rise of Mendy for, a third the price, right? It's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but now we're starting to see why we spent the money on him. And the shirt's his. It's his until he loses it. And right now, you have to give me a very damn good reason why Mendy should be starting over Kepa. That's the way I look at it. And I don't see it. So Kepa for me he's still the man back there between the pipes.
The dude put just a wonderful performance in. There's no way to short it. It just was a match-saving performance, and I don't think we collect 3 points if he wasn't in goal today. we might not get any, just because the tide of the game can change pretty drastically if you give up goals and you go down, right? If you have to kind of play from behind, it changes the momentum, changes the game. My one comment about the Mendy versus Kepa debate is, from what I see, right, which is not everything. We don't get to watch every practice, every session, everything like that. But from what I've seen, both had their positives, both had some shortcomings. And Kepa has done more to improve his shortcomings, the shot stopping from outside the box and some of the just shot stopping in general, than Mendy has done to improve his weak spots, which is ball distribution and sort of managing the box and kind of taking control and being more like a vocal leader out there. So Kepa's made bigger strides since he's come to Chelsea than Mendy has. And he's covered up a lot of his own weaknesses, and then he's got the positives to boot behind it as well. So yeah, he's taken those jumps, and I've really enjoyed watching it because he looks like a leader to me. He looks like he's got control of his club, and he's still a younger guy too, right? And he's barking orders to everybody, Thiago Silva and Dave and everyone. He's controlling his area, and that's what he should do. That is his area, and he's the maestro, making sure everyone's in the right spot. So I see that out of him. He's a great leader, and yeah, a hell of a performance today. The two saves, I mean, the header save and then the triple save were just world class.
Yes, there's the triple save, and the header save were mind blowing to me. I couldn't comprehend what I was watching at Highbury today, but he had another one that really caught my eye. There was a looping ball put into the top of the box. He ran out, punched it away. It wasn't the best punch. He punched it in traffic. Villa then caught it on the volley and hit one right back towards goal. He had already gotten back to goal and got down and saved that one. I'm not sure what exactly Petr Cech worked with him on last year. I'm not a goalie whisperer. I'm not a goalie savant. I don't have the eye to pick up on that. But what I see is swaggy Kepa. There was even one point today that reminded me of Rudiger, where Kepa has the ball at his feet, and I forgot who it was from Villa. Danny Ings probably coming in, trying to nick the ball off him. Kepa fakes a pass and jukes him, and then goes the other way. I was like, that's what I love to see. I love swaggy Chelsea. And when Kepa's on top of his game, I love that even more. I hope to God that Kepa gets all the time that he needs here. I love Edward Mendy, but as long as Kepa's got that confidence to just kind of fuck around, like, he's going to be okay. So, but this World Cup is going to screw everything up, but let's hope until the World Cup that he keeps this form, because we need it.
Yeah, 100%. It's fun seeing the sorry version of Kepa come back, right? Love seeing it. Yeah. I am the captain now. It's basically Kepa out there, right? Like, he's playing with such confidence, and he seems more free. He's not hesitant. He's not, questioning himself or anything like that. He is going out there and he is owning every single opportunity that he gets. And we saw it even last year, when Mendy was out at AFCON, right? Mendy was gone and Kepa had to step up. And again, we've also talked about this, but I can almost guarantee you that the two of them are probably pretty close. And they're trying to make each other better. They're happy when the other succeeds. Like, you can't ask for anything better than that, right? If you're struggling with something and you have somebody who's doing the exact same thing and they're encouraging you, they're, trying to work with you on things, and, you talk about stuff, you learn about stuff. That's all you can hope for. And I think we're seeing that, right? We have a very good goalkeeper locker room. And I'm just excited to see that we get to see Kepa in the form that we paid for him to be in.
So let me pose this question to you guys, because we've got Gaga Solina coming in January, and he's supposed to be the number 2, within about a year or two. That rules out Mendy or Kepa. I don't think you can keep both if Slonina is going to be your number 2 in the short term here. Do you sell high on Kepa, or do you sell a struggling Mendy in summer of next year?
You probably make money on the Mendy sale, to be honest, for what we bought him for and then the form he kind of showed. Now, it's probably not the peak price for him. Like, it's probably not market high all time, but I'm guessing it's going to be more. I mean, Mendy's he has a large body of really great work for Chelsea. And I know it sounds pretty harsh that we've already kind of, quote, forgotten about him or have already kind of written him off given this recent Kepa form. But, we were always a little bit skeptical about him with certain things. And he kind of hid a lot of his own flaws by putting in really solid performances of really great matches of stopping shots. So someone will sign him. I don't think we make money on the Kepa deal. I think he'll go for less than we bought him for. So sort of financially, I think we sell high on Mendy, keep Kepa as more of that investment that can pay dividends down in the future, and then develop a young goalie in Slovenia.
Why isn't Bentinelli going to be the number 1? That's
a good question.
That's my biggest question out of that whole talking point. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this. I do agree that Mendy is going to be the better financial deal. So I think we got him for 28, something like that. Collins, you probably know that number a little bit better than I do. I think it was around 28 mil, and we were all kind of like, wait, who is this? Kepa, again, I think that was kind of a panic buy just because of Allison going to Liverpool, Ederson to City. Like, I think that was kind of a panic move to try and keep up. And I still think that we overpaid for him, which, again, it happens. So be it. But I do think that if Kepa can keep up the form that he's in throughout an entire season, and as long as he doesn't give reason to have Mendy back in, obviously not saying that Mendy's not a capable keeper, right? We all know what he can do, but right now it's going to be very tough to make an argument for Mendy over Kepa. So I would agree with you, Parker. I would think that Mendy would be the smarter business option going forward.
And I will tag on that. I think Kepa is probably the safer bet to keep on. You're, again, like you guys have said, we're going to make money on Mendy. But you also look at the age. Mendy's in his 30s. Kepa's at 28. Kepa is entering his prime as a keeper. You've got probably another 7 to 8 years of this man in his prime. Whereas Mendy, you're going to see about maybe another 3 years. So if you're looking longer term, then you're looking, peak value and all that. I think holding on to Kepa is going to be the better option, especially if, and I've seen Slonina being touted as one of the best young keepers in the world at this point. So, even if you're looking 3-4 years down the road, I think Kepa is still going to give you the best return on your investment there. That, and you pair that with Mendy didn't want to sign a new contract extension because he wasn't going to be paid more than Kepa. I think you're going to start seeing some rumblings there. So we'll see, but man, I hope that Kepa keeps up this form, and I hope Kepa can hold on to this number 1 spot, so that it's not really a debate after a while. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, like, thank you, Edward Mendy, but we have Kepa. We'll see though.
Sort of the unfortunate truth of Chelsea, where great people come and serve a role, but sometimes your services are no longer needed. Not everyone gets to be the storied the player that everyone kind of remembers, and not everyone gets to be Petr Cech and have that kind of career arc where you get to be the guy for forever, right? And for a really, really long stretch. With Chelsea, it can be thanks for your service. We appreciate you. We won't forget you. We'll clap you when you come back, but you move on. It's part business, part the club and the way that the club is run, and the club's about winning and pushing forward, and not necessarily looking back in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's a very, and again, we harp about this all the time. What have you done for me lately? That's the way that Chelsea has operated. So remains to be seen under the bully regime. But that's always been the way that Chelsea has done business. What have you done for me lately? And right now, Kepa's done a lot lately. So it's hard to argue that. But it's a sad truth in the world of Chelsea football. It's just kind of the way that things happen.
And the Petr Cech example is a great one, because we didn't even let Petr Cech retire as a Chelsea player. We had Thibaut Courtois coming up through the ranks. And
Yep.
so, Petr, we'll let you go. You go to wherever you want and we'll sell you there. Like, just so happened it was Arsenal. But, so even a club legend, a guy who only allowed 15 goals in a season, is eventually cut loose. So, we shall see. Like I said, hopefully nothing but good news going forward. I assume with two world-class keepers, it'll all sort itself out, right?
Oh yeah, it's got to.
All right, boys, let's get into our man of the match and man of the get the fuck out of here polls for this week. Man of the match is pretty standard. It's best performance in the match. Man of the get the fuck out of here, created by our own Parker, is basically the thing that you hated the most about the match. As I've said in the last couple of weeks, it's been kind of a stretch with us playing so well. But there's usually some interesting choices in there. So we'll start with our man of the match polls for both the AC Milan match and Aston Villa.
Mason, right at the heart of that, man of the match. How good a Chelsea performance was it?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised I got man of the match, to be fair.
AC Milan, we have Jorginho, Mason Mount, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and the injured Reece James. Parker, we'll start with you. Who's your pick in that one?
Yeah, pretty quickly. It was Mount. This one was a little tougher. No one really stood out as like the head and shoulders best, but Mount did win the penalty, and then he got the assist to Aubameyang. So I kind of count that as 2 assists. I know the league doesn't really count that as an assist, but if you win a penalty and then someone else converts it, I feel like that's kind of an assist. So two of my assists in the book for Mount, and pretty solid performance all around for him.
Matt, who are you picking?
Yeah, so I was only able to watch a little bit of the first half for that match, but I clearly can't pick Jorginho as man of the match. I think that's kind of a given. But I would agree. I think Mount would have probably gotten the nod from me. He's just been playing at a very good level, and he was very influential in the game. So yeah, I got to give it to Mace.
See, and I went Jorginho, and honestly, it was just to spite you. No, but he was very consistent. They kept saying on the broadcast what a professional win this was for Chelsea, how calm they looked throughout the match. And I think Jorginho plays a large role in that. So he was my man of the match. But I was wrong. The folks have voted. 62% vote Mason Mount. Jorginho in second at 24%. Reece James with about 15. Aubameyang didn't receive a single vote. But then we turn to the Aston Villa match. And we've got Mason Mount again. We've got Kepa Arrizabalaga, Koulibaly, and Loftus-Cheek. I feel like it's a 2-horse race here, but Matt, we'll start with you.
So when we came up with who we were going to throw in this man of the match, I kept saying that RLC like actually had a sneaky like good game. Wasn't talked about much, but he did everything right. And I think it was a very overlooked performance on his part. That being said, how can you argue against Kepa with what he did? And we've always talked about, especially with Pickford. I don't know why it's always Jordan Pickford with Everton, but every time we play him, just standing on his head and doing ridiculous things. It's nice to see that happen in our favor. So for me, I got to give it to Kepa.
Yeah, it's no question. It was Kepa for me as well. 2-horse race with Mount and Kepa. And I thought Mount had a phenomenal game as well, but the nod definitely goes to Kepa, because without him, we're conceding at least one, likely 2 or 3, and Mount helped, put something on the scoreline, but without Kepa, we're conceding a lot. It changes the dynamics of the game. So he was the winner for me.
Well, boys, and it's a sweep. I got Kepa as well. And it's funny because for the longest time, Kepa was winning this poll with 100% of the vote. Only late on in the day did Mason Mount start getting some votes. So Kepa comes away with 81%, Mason Mount 19%, Koulibaly and Loftus-Cheek don't earn a single vote. And honestly, that's probably justified in this match. So let's turn to our man of the get the fuck out of here.
Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
Again, kind of tough to pull on this one. But for AC Milan, we've got the Reece James injury, the referee, we've got Tonali, and we've got the amount of yellow cards. Parker, who's your man to get the fuck out of here for the AC Milan match?
Yeah, the amount of yellow I saw during that match was awful. Just didn't like to see that many yellows given in general, and I just thought the ref could have taken a slight step back overall for the match. So you could call that refereeing or the amount of yellows, but yellow for me.
Referee, full blown, just again, it seemed like he had like a trigger finger just on that yellow card. Like he was ready to pull it whenever he felt like it. And we've talked about this, when you're dancing and, we've all seen the movie Knocked Up, he's doing the dice too much. Like that's all he's got. All he had was yellows. Like that's really all he had. And he was just giving it at will. So for me, it's the referee.
I voted the Reece James injury, and at the time, this was a lot less significant than it is now. It initially was supposed to be 1 or 2 games, and now he's not coming back till after the World Cup. So Reece James was mine, and that's how the people voted as well, earning 2/3 of the vote. The referee at 20%, Tonali at 9.5%, and yellow cards at 4.5%. For the Aston Villa match, again, man, crapshoot. We had Steven Gerrard. We had Cucurella's terrible performance, which we didn't talk about on this pod. We've got the Reece James injury again, and you've got El Clasico, which ran at about the same time. Matt, what do you got?
Stevie G. He's been on the hot seat for a while, and I think this kind of solidified it. I would not be surprised if I wake up tomorrow morning and see the headlines that Stevie G is out at Villa. And it's Stevie G, so fuck him.
I actually would be surprised because Villa looked decent. It wasn't the most comfortable of 2-0 wins for us. They definitely brought an energy to the match. So I thought from a managerial standpoint, Gerrard actually did decent. So I'll just go with Cucurella just because I hold him to a much higher standard, and he didn't have his best looking game. He kind of looked lost a little bit a few times out there. I know he might not be playing in his preferred position and the back of a back three, but he just kind of looked a little lost, and he got beat a few too many times for my liking. So for me, it was Cucurella.
My vote was also for Steven Gerrard. I lived with a Liverpool fan for a couple of years in college. Good friend of the pod, Joe Mach. And just hearing about Steven Gerrard all the time was really annoying. So he's my automatic man to get the fuck out of here. And the people spoke, and he was also there. Get the fuck out of here with 45% of the vote. Reece James' injury claimed about a third, and then Cucurella and El Clasico finished out at about 11%. So you can always check out our man of the match and man to get the fuck out of here polls after every single match. Check it out on Twitter at FlagDownPod. All right, boys. Well, we are pushing up against the hour here. So, Matt, Parker, any closing thoughts?
The only thing I'll close with is I'm going to make bold predictions for next week. We're going to win 1-0 and 1-0 because it was 3-0, 3-0, 2-0, 2-0, and now I'm just going to keep on with the trend and go 1-0, 1-0. And I love the fact that we're scoring goals again, boys, and our defense is keeping clean sheets. So we've lost now 2 defenders, 2 big price tag defenders. Reece doesn't have a big price tag, but he could sell for a whole lot, right? So we've lost 2 big name defenders, and we're still keeping clean sheets, which is a good sign. And the goals are starting to come. So new manager bounce or whatever's in the water, I don't really care. Chelsea is winning, so life is good.
Potterball, all about it.
All right, my closing thought here is props to Dennis Zakaria, who is literally just collecting a paycheck here. That's the dream job, I would say.
He's working his John Obi Mikel magic.
Not even.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed what you watched today, never mind. We haven't been on Twitch. I'll edit that out. If you've enjoyed what you listened to today, you can catch us every week. We usually release on Mondays. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. All that we ask is that you do subscribe, rate, and review. You can give us 5 stars and talk shit if you want. You can give us 5 stars. Tell us how much you love us. Just give us that 5 stars. You can always follow us on social media. The podcast itself can be followed on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Search at FlagDownPod. You can follow me, Andy. I'm at Comiskey North. You can follow Parker at DJ Parkour. And you can follow Matt at Matus Lee. If you have any questions or comments that you want us to address on air, shoot us a DM on social media. We're happy to read anything that you got. And finally, go check out our polls after every match. We got our man of the match, got our man of the get the fuck out of here. Always happy to get everybody's input on that. So that's all I've got, boys. Let's go ahead and toast and get out of here.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm all potted out.